Good afternoon. Welcome to the season finale of InFocus. I'm Melissa Ridgen, and today we are going to update you on some of the incredible stories that we've brought to you over the past year. In the depths of winter, we told you about two designers who were headed to Paris for Fashion Week, beyond their wildest dreams, obviously. Sheila Tucker is from Yellow Quill First Nation in Saskatchewan, but she's been living and designing in Arizona, where she shares two children with her husband, who's a member of the Navajo Nation. She was chosen to be in the Flying Solo show in Paris, which it showcases independent new talent from across the globe to shine among fashion giants. So kind of mind-blowing to even be invited, right? Also chosen for that show was Jessie Pruden. She is a Métis beater from right here in Winnipeg. Her bead and butter jewelry hit the runway at that Flying Solo show too. We just wanted to take a look back at some clips from before they went to Paris Fashion Week, and we're just gearing up and getting all excited. Take a look. How do you go from 2 years ago, you start beading during COVID to, oh, now I'm showing at Paris Fashion Week just casually?
Yeah, it feels pretty unreal to me. But we started partnering with this store in New York called Flying Solo, and they're a retail space, and they feature new and upcoming designers, independent designers, and they have a little showroom for celebrity stylists and stuff to come pick out pieces and everything. So their scouter found me on Instagram and asked me if I wanted to participate, and I was like, yes. And then 2 weeks after we got our retail space there, she messaged me again, and she's like, hey, we had somebody drop out of Paris Fashion Week. Do you want to take over their spot? And obviously, yes.
How did your designs go from like your home studio, selling stuff online, popular, your goods have always been popular, but to get noticed then for the inclusion into Paris Fashion Week? I mean, tell us how this happened.
Well, actually, it started with a friend of mine who's actually, she started out as one of my buyers. She came here, she's from New Mexico, and she came to my home. I had some earrings for her and a skirt, and I gifted her one of my hats. She came in and she was just wowed at all my stuff. I had my work just kind of laying around all over my work tables. She said, what are you doing? You need to be out there. You have to apply somewhere and get into the fashion industry. She said, your work needs to be out there. I don't see anybody like your stuff, so that was my push. The other factor also was my husband took me to my very first ever fashion show, and it was here in Phoenix. He was going there to support his little sister who was modeling in the fashion show, and I saw these designs and I thought, hey, I could see myself having work on a runway.
I love that there's Indigenous representation at Paris Fashion Week. I feel like you don't see a lot of beadwork and stuff there, although I could be wrong. Somebody was telling me about some old Versace clothes that had beading on it, but I don't know if it was necessarily done by Indigenous people. But it's just so cool to have representation there, and just to have, like, I feel like family there. Even though we don't know each other, it's still, one of ours. So I'm very excited.
Well, obviously, we have been excited to hear what happened in Paris. Joining us now is Sheila Tucker. Jessie Pruden is going to be joining us momentarily as well. Sheila, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we'll back up. When we had you on the show before, we were talking, both you and I, and Jessie too, who's going to be joining us, just had some tech issues with her. We're huge fans of Fashion File, right? Growing up, like in the 90s. When you got there, did it seem like, were you like, I'm now part of that? Did it have the same feel?
It really did, yes, because the scale of it is just phenomenal. Hearing the cameras and just being there with the other designers, and the venue was absolutely incredible. And yeah, like, just the models were just beautiful, and just like what you see, on what you would expect, basically. So yeah. It was a great experience. I loved it.
Was it everything that you were just seeing some of the pictures now that you had from the show, just stunning? When you were gearing up for it, did you have expectations, and then did the event meet those expectations?
It really did. I really loved the just the way that everything was set up. Um, and I think I was just dumbfounded by the whole experience. And I had, of course, my assistants with me and my little girl, so we all experienced it together. But they definitely did meet the expectations of what I had in mind of what to expect.
Was it a crazy amount of work?
It was, yes. In fact, we were at our hotel. We had an apartment condo. Me and my assistant, the one that helps me with the sewing and whatnot, she did all the finishing details on some of my handbags. And we were literally up till 3 or 4 in the morning getting last minute things finished and perfected, and making sure that everything was on point. And it was hectic, yeah, like getting there, getting the Uber, and making sure they're on time. We were late, and the fitting was insane. Like, it was like I didn't expect it to be at that gravity. Like, well, you just don't know what to expect really behind the scenes, right?
Right.
And it was very incredible. I really loved it, and I think I'm excited to go back for more.
Oh, well, okay. Before we get to that, we have Jessie Pruden now from Bead and Butter. She was also showing at that flying solo show in
Hi,
Paris
Sheila.
at Paris Fashion Week.
Hi. Nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you.
Oh,
Yes,
you
you
guys
too.
met there. I was so happy that we had you guys both on the show, and then you got to actually meet there. Jessie, I'll ask you the same question that I just asked Sheila. Can you describe for us like the experience? It just seems like something that I don't think that any of us could really even get our heads around unless you experienced it.
Yeah, a lot of it didn't feel real at all. And just to be, especially that first day when we first got there and we just laid out our jewelry, and you'd have their, oh God, my brain is not working right now. Their stylist come and pick out pieces, and they'd bring the models over with the clothing, and you'd get to see your pieces with these beautiful works of art. It was just really incredible, and seeing all the models walking around. It's just an environment that I've never, ever experienced in my life. And it was really, really cool to see. Really, yeah.
Oh.
The whole time our minds were blown. We took about 10,000 photos.
Well, and two Indigenous designers with roots here in Canada. I mean, you guys instantly just gravitate to each other.
Oh, well, I saw
We
Sheila and her family walk in, and they were all wearing ribbon skirts. And I said to my brother, our people are here. It's very exciting.
Oh my God. And so did you get to do anything other than, like, I mean, obviously your show was crazy, but did you get to go to any of the other shows? Did you get to see famous people?
No, we only saw our show. I have a bit of a hard time getting around because my legs aren't great. So we didn't try to see other shows or anything. We mostly just got to experience Paris itself. And it was really cool because I had my best friends and my brother with me. So that was really cool. Definitely experiencing all that stuff with them was awesome.
What's been, since you come home, you've now been featured at Paris Fashion Week. Was there sort of a deluge that came after that of people wanting your stuff or wanting to collaborate?
Yeah, we definitely sold out of a lot of stuff for quite some time. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of opportunities to collab with some really cool artists. That's been very exciting, and a lot of opportunities with different local companies that I've really wanted to work with. Like Manitoba Mucklucks contacted me, and I get to do some beading classes for them, which is my favorite thing to do. I love to teach the art form to people. Just stuff like that. Like, it's just been really cool to see the fun opportunities that came afterwards.
What about for you, Sheila? What happened kind of in the post-Paris Fashion Week wake for you?
It's been insane. I mean, I actually just finished a photo shoot for a billboard at New York Times Square that I was offered. And then I also am invited to Torino, Italy. So that's a huge endeavor that I'm looking forward to. And of course, New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week. So it's just kind of like exciting.
You've already done New York and London, or those are on the horizon?
those are on the rise yet. Like this will be a first for each one, and I'm really excited. And I was also offered the showroom in New York, in Soho, New York. I just have not had any time at all to create a collection for that opportunity. But I'm totally excited for it because I asked Jessie, you know, what her experience is with it, and I'm really excited for it. So it's been a crazy ride. Like I'm busy, like constant. And this weekend, in fact, I have a benefit fashion show that I was asked to be a part of. And it benefits abused children of here in the Greater Valley of Phoenix. And I'm really excited. I created a whole collection for it, and we have our fittings tomorrow, and super excited.
What about you, Jessie? Any more fashion weeks on the horizon for you?
Not for the next little while. I'm a little tapped at the moment, so we're just working on building inventory. We have a ton of local markets and stuff. I'm trying to work on, because we were a pandemic baby, I'm really reaching out to my local peeps and kind of getting involved with everybody around Winnipeg, which is really, really nice. We just got back from a big market in Ottawa, which was a lot of fun, but yeah, I think we'll be homebound for a little bit.
Well, we are so proud of both of you guys. Like to do something this kind of magnificent and on a pretty quick turnaround too is insane. Yeah. I have to ask each of you, you know, what did it feel like to see, you know, our beadwork, our traditions, our, you know, things from our culture to be used and put on a runway in Paris of all places? Like, I can't even imagine like the job would be on the floor for most of it, I would guess. Hey, you'd maybe have to digest it more after the fact. Sheila, I'll start with you.
It was insane. Like even doing the walk after our show, I could just hear the people in awe of me wearing a ribbon skirt like that. That was amazing. You know, you could hear the cameras flashing like crazy. And it happened so fast, and people were just so amazed with our work. Like even with Jessie, you know, like just they were just amazed with it, with everything, and that felt really good to know that, you know, we were representing our people on the other side of the world, you know, in one of the biggest shows on the planet. So that was amazing.
And it wasn't appropriated. It's not like somebody from Paris took our work and our designs and did it themselves. Like they brought you there to do it. I mean, that's a different time to be alive than what we've previously seen. Usually, you know, the Europeans or settlers or colonizers see something, they like it, they take it and run with it and make it theirs, right? This is not that. Jessie, how did you feel? Like, was there kind of that almost a, like, this is a first?
Yeah, it was really emotional, especially with everything happening right now with residential schools, and it just feels like Indigenous people are always being punched down upon, like over and over. There's just always something happening. And then just to have this purely celebratory thing happen where you can see your art being collaborated with other art, with people really loving it, seeing it on this huge platform, it just was like a really great release of just all the crap that we've had to put up with for so long, you know, like it felt magical.
See it up there and celebrated. Okay, Sheila, what's next for you? What do you, I guess not necessarily, but what is, you said you've got 2 more fashion weeks that you're going to do, but I guess where do you want to branch out to next? Where do you want to take your designs? Where do you want to take Sheila Tucker?
Well, the opportunity in Italy, that's a huge opportunity because the European Fashion Council has collaborated with the show that I'll be a part of for emerging designers in Italy. And they're giving us the opportunity to meet with retailers in the EU. And so if they want to purchase anything from me to put in their stores, they will. And they're also going to put together a promo video of my work and put it in one of their huge retailers that sells like Prada, Gucci. So it'll be my work on a big screen when they enter this department store in Milan and, you know, in Torino, and it's really exciting. So that's going to be kind of my focus. And also opening a showroom, first showroom here in Phoenix. That's my goal for the coming year, and I'm really excited for it. And then, of course, to have, be a part of the showroom in New York as well. Yeah. So,
are you going to have to hire staff to do this? Seems like a lot of work for what you've got going on right now. It
is a lot of work. Even finding good photographers is work. Yeah. And I've just recently found a really good photographer, so she's phenomenal. And she's, she worked with me on the billboard photo shoot this week. I had 2 Indigenous models from Oklahoma. They're Muskogee and Navajo, so they'll be on the Times Square billboard. I have yet to confirm a date because I have a meeting with them on Monday, so...
Amazing.
Super exciting.
Oh, okay.
Eventually I will need help.
Well, yeah. I mean, my fingers are hurting just thinking of all the beading and sewing you're doing over there. Jessie, what's next for Bead and Butter? Where do you want to take it?
We've got a lot of collections lined up, like a lot of ideas for stuff that we're going to be releasing pretty soon. We're currently working on our Pride collection, which is my favorite time of year, so I'm pretty excited. Working with rainbows a lot, so I'm very stoked about that. Yeah, mostly we're just focused on making collections, putting ideas out there, getting it down. I'm just feeling really inspired and wanting to create, and also we're doing a lot of teaching coming up, which again is very important to me. So I'm very happy to be doing that.
Well, thank you both for taking time out of your day to give us the rundown of how Paris went. I think a lot of us were kind of living vicariously through you when you guys were getting ready to leave, and we were just hoping for the best. And it sounds like it was everything this experience should be for both of you. Much deserved, and so much respect to both of you. Thank you, Marcy, so much.
Thank you.
We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, possibly the most talked about InFocus show of all time. You went crazy for Res Pizza. We'll tell you all about that after the break.
Join our conversation now. Send your thoughts to InFocus at aptn.ca, like us on Facebook on our APTN News page, and follow or tweet us at APTN InFocus.
Welcome back. As we said before the break, one of our most talked about shows had to do with pizza. We just kind of put out a call saying, hey, tell us about your favorite Res Pizza, and you did not disappoint. You certainly kept our poor social media editor, Jessie Andrushko, busy with your submissions. Let's take a look back at the social media response.
We asked online for people to share their favorite pizzas, and we got a lot of submissions. Let's take a look at a few, but keep in mind, this will make you hungry. First from Anthony. His cousin Joshua from Lake St. Martin, known as the Pizza Man, made this delicious pie. Anthony said that on a good day, the Pizza Man can make 10 or more pizzas with his wife and sons. Looks amazing. Jenner shared their deadly homemade pizza, 1/2 veggie with peppers, tomato, mushroom, and the other half cheese. Mouth-watering. Here's one from Caitlin, an Indigenous lawyer by day, foodie and pizza maker by night. Mozzarella, pepperoni, jalapeno, basil, pesto, and hot honey. Dough hand-rolled and made from scratch with her partner Robert. Mouth-watering. Greek pizza, anyone? Bev in Watson Lake makes these tasty pizzas to order. Cheese, peppers, looks delightful. Here's a homemade pizza from Roberta in Carcross, Yukon. A healthy dose of cheese and sausage. Roberta says that everyone in her little community is always asking to make pizzas. I don't blame them, Roberta. Looks amazing. Crystal's favorite pizza comes from Albert Jones in Escanobaditch First Nation. She shared a drool-worthy picture with mushrooms, pepperoni, peppers. Totally drool-worthy. Tracy nominated Jan's Pizza. She shared a picture of the Janzerati, saying it's to die for. I agree. Looks very, very good. From Puckenawagan, Manitoba, Taya shared her Res XL loaded pizza with pepperoni, salami, cheese, bell peppers, mushrooms, pineapples, hamburgers, and bacon. Love it, especially the pineapple. Rena is carrying on tradition, copying her mom, who always made pizza, homemade dough and shredded pepperoni with veggies and lots of cheese. From Pimenay Tang First Nation, Tyler shared this masterpiece from a local pizza maker, Sheila McLean. Sign me up, the crust looks so good. Taina, a member of Attawapiskat First Nation, living in Thunder Bay, shared some wood-fired pizza. Look at that mozzarella just melting off the side. Another drill-worthy one for sure. Lastly, from Lorna in Lustigers, Quebec, her husband Lanson, owner and operator of Nellie's Pizza, makes some delicious, unique pizzas. Here's their pickle pizza. Very, very cool.
Epic failure that we didn't have a pizza here as we discussed pizza, because now we're looking at that and it's like I forgot how hungry that episode made us.
Right.
But neither one of us were here that day. I had COVID that day.
Yeah, and I was working from home.
And you were working from home, so very last minute. It's like, Daryl Stranger, can you come in and host the show? And it was all good. He agreed to do it, thank God. So I had sent the crew and Daryl a thank you pizza from Thompson Style Pizza, which is here in Winnipeg, which is based on a type of pizza that they do up in Thompson, Manitoba. We should have just ordered another one for right now. I'm disappointed.
I know.
So, you know, I'm curious, were you prepared for what was the onslaught of social media engagement from that show?
I don't think anyone could have seen that coming. Like, it was, you know, we put the post out on Facebook back in January, and you know, at first it was just a bit kind of slow, and then all of a sudden the submissions just start rolling. I bet you easily a picture every minute. And then from there, you know, I think we got maybe a few hundred submissions via our email. The post itself got 450 shares, 300 comments, people just posting all about pizza.
Yeah.
And we actually made a website because we couldn't show them all. So we actually made a web page.
Is it still up?
It's still up, yeah. aptn.ca/r/story/pizza, so take a look. But yeah, don't look at that page on an empty stomach.
Right. I totally forgot about the element of, like, what do we do with all? There were so many, we couldn't fit them all into the show. So it's like, well, let's showcase them somewhere. So I guess the thing to remember would be puppies, kids, cute kids, and pizza. Speaking of, okay, so there was, what was the other thing that was, there was a huge social media engagement?
We had a few, like throughout the whole season, like the Pope's apology, that was a massive one too. Hundreds of comments. It was so divided, right? People either loved it or hated it. Yeah. The other episodes, tourism and just about Indigenous business.
Yeah.
I think, you know, after 2 years of COVID, people just wanted to see businesses doing well, and that's the case for Indigenous business in Canada. Like, they're just doing great. And otherwise, you know, any episode we do about child welfare, there's so much engagement. People.
I know.
People have a passion for that. Like, it's crazy, but yeah.
What about, we have, you've been doing this for a couple of years. I guess do you know when something is going to be viral, when something's going to be like a huge hit, or?
That's a good question. You know, like,
should be down to a science by now, right?
You'd think. I know, like, talking with my team, Mark Blackburn, Savannah Kelly, you know, we have something, we think it'll do amazing, and, you know, maybe it falls flat, or the other way around. We'll have something really small, goes crazy. One example, which is just, to this day, it's just insane. It literally doubled our followers. Take a look. We have a video here. So this was posted on APTN News Facebook page back in June of 2018. Albert Assassin, who was 2 years old at the time, finally got his first opportunity to dance in front of a big crowd on Indigenous Peoples Day in Camrose, Alberta. The video went insane on APTN News Facebook. Currently it has over 300,000 comments.
Wow.
960,000 shares. And as of right now, 29 million video views. So I would say that's pretty viral.
Is that the biggest that you've seen in the 6 years you've been here?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Yeah, I think that is easily one of the biggest videos we've had. Absolutely. And I hope we follow up with him this year. But
yeah, you know, that will be one of those ones. So 10 years from, in 2028, we're like, where's that little Joseph now?
Exactly.
Somebody who's a producer who's sitting around here needs to, like, put that in their calendar for 2028. Call and check in on on our little powwow dancer. Well, Jessie, I am thankful that you could come in and share this with us. It's been a wild year. We always have some great chats, right?
Sure.
And I love hearing from our audience. They always have interesting insight.
They have always really good insight.
They do.
Good comments.
Okay, what do we have to go to next here? Oh, one of our most talked about stories involved a soup kitchen that started up in Sudbury. Now, how one woman started feeding the city's homeless people out of her kitchen, and it just blew up into this full-blown community feast feeding hundreds of people. Our friends at CTV did this story. Take a look.
Macaroni, potatoes, meatballs. The menu is enough to make just about anyone's mouth water. A few Sudburyans are being treated to lunch thanks to the generosity of the Blounts and their team of volunteers. And organizers say it all started with a conversation.
After that, I brought her down. She was amazed about the homeless people, the elderly that just, they don't have enough food. They're hungry. They're always hungry, thirsty. She just wanted to do something about it, and this is how it started.
Meet Auntie Vi herself. She, her family, and volunteers have been serving up warm meals each and every Sunday.
It started out with just a few donations that I came down with, and then I received donation after donation, and then got volunteers that cooked the meals, and then it just all evolved to this.
Their efforts are not only welcomed, but certainly appreciated in the city's core. Each and every Sunday, they now have a line before they even start serving.
There's children come here, families come here, elders come here, and it's all, we sit and talk with them too, and they feel all welcomed.
There needs to be more people like this, but it's a start and it's a move in the right direction.
This is part of our community. And seeing people like this giving out of their free will and out of their own heart is awesome. It's very touching and inspiring.
All are welcome. One of the main rules is you must be respectful of one another. Auntie Vi says they'll do this as long as they can.
As long as I can keep it going. As long as there's still people out there who need a good home-cooked meal, I'm fine.
The Blounts figure they've probably served about 2,000 meals or so since starting their efforts a couple months ago. And they want people out there to know they are not alone. We can get through anything together as a community. Ian Campbell, CTV News, Sudbury.
Thanks again to our friends at CTV for that. Well, Vi and Dave Blount, they were the ones behind Vi's Pantry. That couple, along with Patricia Shane and her son Brandon Charlebois, were helpers of the community feast. They joined us to have a chat. We loved them. You all loved it. Let's take a look back at some of that. Brandon, my first question is for you. I mean, you're just 13. You're just a kid. How long have you been cooking for?
Not that I can remember it, but about a year, maybe.
And when you decided that you wanted to start cooking, or had you always kind of wanted to do it and just weren't brave enough to start firing up the stove yet?
Well, it was actually my mom that got me into cooking, so yeah.
Well, and I watch you. Your mom and I are both members of the Métis Foodies page, so I've seen you for a long time before I'm meeting you here today. So I've kind of been one of your biggest fans, quietly here from Winnipeg, watching what you're cooking up in Sudbury. Patricia, you saw this skill. How did it end up that he'd be not just cooking for your family, but for Sudbury's homeless and hungry?
Well, Brandon is a very determined young man, and he has numerous struggles that he deals with on a daily basis. So for him to get involved into cooking was a way of his releasing his stress, his anxiety, and his depression. And the kitchen is one of his happiest places. And now that he knows he has some fans on Métis Foodies who are pushing him ahead, he's just really, really thrilled on it. And Vi and her husband have been great to take us on to be able to help them out.
Vi, you started feeding the hungry in Sudbury back in May to keep yourself busy. You said, what was going on for you back then to get Vi's Pantry started?
When I got started, it was, I went down with like a pot of soup and some scone. And we served about 50 people, so I seen there was a great need, so I had to go back, and that's when I started Vi's Pantry.
Dave, it was actually you that kind of helped to get this started, I guess, right? You had convinced Vi to maybe go in and feed some people. What was going on for you back then when this got started?
Well, at that time, I was downtown with other associations, and I was shocked and amazed about the homeless and the needy. Where I came home and I talked to Vi about it and got her involved. And from there, it bloomed.
Well, and so how did it spread, like just word of mouth through the community, or were you guys doing like public service announcement blasts? Because Vi had said when this started, it was like 50 people, and you guys are up to 300 people now every Sunday.
Well, it just went from setting up in Medina Lane here in Sudbury. People noticed us. I would walk through the park, introduce ourselves, and people would come up. So just by word of the community, I would say.
What are some of the things that you guys feed to the people of Sudbury?
I'm sorry?
What are some of the things you guys feed the people of Sudbury?
We do a very wide variety from always hot food, hot soup. Thanksgiving, we had turkey dinner, mashed potatoes, vegetables, desserts. We do culture dinners, hot coffee. We do a wide variety of everything. Depends on what the community donates is what we cook.
Yeah. Vi, what's been the biggest surprise to you in terms of the community offering support?
The big surprise to me is when I reached out to ask for donations, and I was so overwhelmed. I got donation after donation after donation.
Nice. Well, and this started, I mean, I remember seeing a picture of just, 3 giant pots of soup cooking on your stove. Is it a little easier now that you've got people who are taking on some of that, cooking things at their own home and then bringing them to feed people? Does it take a little bit of the stress off of you?
Oh, yes, it does for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I put it out there to anybody who's offering a meal is welcome to do so. Because downtown, we're like, I can't stress it enough. We're like we're a big family downtown, family oriented.
Patricia, you had said you've seen so much growth in Brandon, watching him do this. Dave, you said that you've just in a very short amount of time have seen a change in Brandon too. What have you seen?
I've seen the look in his eye, the smile in his face, and coming forward. I'm very proud of him. He's a wonderful boy.
Well, what's next for Vi's Pantry? Winter is coming. You guys have been parked out at Memorial Park every Sunday for a couple hours feeding people. Obviously a little more difficult when the cold weather hits. Sudbury is not a warm place in the wintertime, much like Winnipeg here. What's going to be the plan to keep feeding people?
What we're going to do is we're going to do a pre-single meals. And then we're going to go around with our little red wagon we purchased and hand out the meals.
Is there anything that you guys are wanting for? Is there something that Vi's Pantry had put out asking the public for right now that you guys are fundraising for, or a need that could be filled?
Well, we don't do fundraising. We just rely on the community. It doesn't matter what the community gives us. Every little thing counts. My wife does wonders with the cooking, with everything that she does get. It's all we ask is just keep the donations coming, and we'll go from there. And people find you on the Vi's Pantry Facebook page? Is that the best way to get a hold of you? Yes.
That's correct, yeah.
What she does is that she posts the meal for the week, saying donations appreciated, and they just start coming in. Every day, 5-6 donations every day. So without the community, Vi's Pantry couldn't have happened.
How do you feel? I mean, you guys never planned this, though, right? Like, you went out to just fill a need. I don't think either one of you, from talking to you, ever expected that this was going to turn into what it's turned into. Like, how do you feel when you look and see just the community support that's created this?
From the first time my wife made that pot of soup, we went down and did 35, 40 people. She decided that she has to do something. People like Brandon came forward, and his wife, and many other great volunteers.
Not long after they were on our show, Vi's Pantry was shut down by health officials who said that the food prepared at her home cannot be served to the hungry. I contacted them to say what's going on. They said it's for the health and safety of the people who use the soup kitchen. So it looked like that was it for Vi's Pantry. It would be no more. But some kind folks at the Minnow Lake Lions Club stepped in, this is in Sudbury, to offer her use of their commercial kitchen space. So they've been doing that for a couple months since then. And the number of people that are fed continues to grow. They're up to 400 people every Sunday nowadays. As for young Brandon Charlebois and his mom Patricia says that he took a few weeks off of cooking, but he's getting back into it now. It's time for us to take another quick break. When we come back, more highlights and updates from our favorite shows this season, including ribbon skirts for Barbie and an update on the Instagram page that is helping incarcerated women sell their beadwork. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are talking about some of the highlights from this past InFocus season. We have some incredibly talented photographers and videographers right here at APTN News. And something that you loved was hearing tips from them about how you can shoot like a pro. Lee Wilson and Charlotte Morit Jacobs were on hand to share some of their tips and tricks with us. Here's a clip. How'd you get into photography and videography? You know, was it before or after journalism that this became an interest to you?
Definitely. So myself, I grew up in the Haisla Nation. So I grew up here in northern BC. We're surrounded by beautiful mountains and like nature up here. So I just developed this passion for being able to love outdoors. But it wasn't until 2016 that I got my first DSLR camera, and from there it was sort of learning everything all at once. My friend went to film school. I had zero knowledge, but what happened is I just had this real passion for being able to capture images. So I'd use YouTube at that time to be able to like study things, and then I'd get out and shoot. But I treated it like a job. So I get up early in the morning to chase sunrises and sunsets, and go late at night, chase sunsets, and I just spent hours and hours being able to study like photography, being able to go capture places. And at that time I lived on Vancouver Island, so we had lots of really beautiful places to go explore.
Yeah. Well, I always, I look at some of the things that people like yourself capture out in BC, which is stunningly beautiful, and I sort of to try to make myself feel better about being not a good photographer. I'm like, I wonder if they'd be able to get such beautiful things if they were living here, in Winnipeg on the prairies where we don't have the big mountains and the waterscapes. But I should say, we do have beautiful things on the prairies. They're just differently beautiful. Those big open skies, that big flat land. There's lots that a skilled photographer could do with what we have here. It's just I don't have that skill. The animals. What do you prefer taking pictures of, or I guess, or is it all sort of the same? Do you like the landscapes, or do you like the animals? Because we got your animal photography just blows my mind.
Oh, thank you very much, Melissa. I prefer all of them. And what you're talking about, something that's really key to me, is that the beautiful places that we all live in. And one of the things I really did always try to do is be able to say, we can get out and explore the places around us. And I know what you talked about is having big skies and beautiful nature there. You also have wildlife that we wouldn't have here. But one of the things I like to do is be able to capture both. Be able to capture the wildlife that we have, and be able to capture nature. And I just treat them the same as being able to go out there and try. Because lots of times I'll go places and I'll travel trying to look for wildlife, and I'll just get nature. And I'm fine with that.
Well, you definitely know your land. That's for sure with what you're capturing when you're out there. I'm curious people must ask you all the time what advice you would have for people, whether you want to become a photographer or you want to just be, an amateur hobbyist at doing this. What advice do you have for people to capture that stunning photo? Is it in the equipment? Is it in the eye? Is it in the light?
What I can share is sort of about the eye, the way we're seeing things. You talked about sort of getting out and shooting yourself and be able to capture different images. And I think one of the things that are really key is that you're able to capture images you have. Being able to go out and shoot is one of the things. But then being able to train your eye to be able to see things in a different way. And so right now, if we start taking photos, lots of times people take a photo of something, the subject's right in the middle. And what happens with that, that's a good photo to have, that's one of them, but we want to get more cinematic and framing of our shots. So think of your photo or your frame of the camera having basically separated into thirds. So I think of like a tic-tac-toe box running through your frame. And so you can do that on your iPhone or else your Android and be able to enable grid view. And what that does is it puts a grid or the thirds that happen through your frame, and then you want to put your subject not in the middle, but put it on one of those third lines. And what that allows you to do is be able to have your eye scan through the photo like you're reading a book, and then it finds the subject that's in the upper third or the lower third, and it allows you to be able to scan through. It gives more sort of like lets you just, rather than your eye stopping right in the middle, it allows you to scan through a photo to get more feeling of the frame and more creative ways to look.
You've got such a talent for telling stories, but you have an equally talented eye for capturing stills. Is this always been an interest of yours, taking pictures?
I would say I always enjoyed talking with people, and it kind of goes hand in hand when you're videoing someone that you want something to give back to whoever you're speaking with, and photos seem to be a way that I could give back by taking somebody's photos, and from there, then you kind of develop a passion for it.
Well, you certainly do. We're looking at some of the work that you've taken. I love you always just manage to catch such an essence of people and moments that people are having. You know, you've been in the North for several years. You're a Southern transplant there. What are your favorite things to get out and take pictures of?
Well, as Ryan mentioned, the Nika, which is the Northern Lights, when I'm not, you know, freezing my bum off out there at night, then I really, really enjoy photographing people in their, I guess, everyday life, whether it's out on the land, in their kitchen, you know, laughing with friends, and kind of catching people off guard. But mostly people.
Those are, yeah, the catching people off guard, those candid moments are beautiful. I'm curious, you know, would you rather be out shooting video, or would you rather be shooting stills?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. You know, some of the best advice I had early on was shooting video as though they were still photographs. For cinematography, as Lee Wilson had mentioned, you know, trying to make your rule of thirds and trying to have different perspectives. It's really hard to say if I'd rather take photos or video. Yeah. I just think they marry so well. I love capturing the sky with people outside and breaking a lot of rules, you know, like conventionally, you know, you're kind of taught, don't take photos with the sun, don't shoot right into the sunlight, you don't want this lens flare, but a lot of what I capture is just people enjoying time in the sun.
And breaking the rules.
When we do have it, so. Yes, breaking the rules, absolutely. Just making sure that your subject is comfortable. You know, I don't tell people to smile. That's one thing early on that whether it's for APTN or just I'm taking photos of friends, I just kind of, if they want to smile, awesome, but historically, like, you know, photographers really, it can be a power imbalance of taking somebody's photo and instructing them what to do, unless it's like a modeling situation. So I try to just capture people in between, however they would like to best present themselves, and always give them the photo after. I always find it can be kind of creepy as a amateur photographer that I take so many photos of people, and then these photos live on my hard drive of, you know, kind of strangers. So it's nice to give them back as well.
I love that. And it looks like many of you took all that amazing advice to heart, because we are getting some incredible photos of the day submissions to aptnnationalnews.ca. You could send them to share at aptn.ca. That's if you want to be our next photo of the day on the news. One of our favorites from this past season was a segment that we had on Indigenous Barbies. Tracy Boucher is the woman behind TB Crafting. She makes ribbon skirts and Every Child Matters and MMID shirts for Barbie. Take a look. Is there a positive to gain from it?
Well, the positive, I think, for the community and my family is the children, our Indigenous children, need to be able to identify with a toy. Mm-hmm. The girls need to understand the teachings of the ribbon skirt. You know, they need to be very proud of themselves, be very strong, and to honor their sacred bodies. You know, that's what the ribbon skirt teachings are. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of backlash saying, you know, it's about the dolls and why am I using these dolls? And it's not about the dolls. This is 100% about the ribbon skirt teachings and our girls honoring themselves and their bodies. And, you know, there's a lot of two-spirited people out there, and I've had a lot of requests for, you know, the skirts for that. So, you know, in this day and age, we want all children to identify. It doesn't matter if they're boy, girl, or they identify other. They need to be able to see a toy and relate to it. And that's what this is.
Joining us now from Edmonton is Tracy Boucher with an update. Tracy, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm great. Super popular, that segment that we did with Indigenous Barbie. You know, representation is important, obviously. You were run off your feet trying to keep up with orders for this wild, popular doll and the designs that you make. How has it been since you were on the show?
It's taken off. It's very well. It's very steady, the dolls I've been selling. It's quite interesting how the demographic has changed a bit. I sell a lot of the dolls now to support groups, to Catholic social services, to sexual assault centers, to counselors that do any kind of play therapy, anything or anywhere that these young Indigenous children are going. When they arrive, the counselors like to give them a toy, something that they can grab onto and feel safe with this toy. So that part of it is really amazing to me. It just makes me so happy.
You know, you were saying you're looking forward to the Pope's visit this summer. You think there's a role for your Barbies in the tour that he'll be doing around the country?
Absolutely, because we have the Every Child Matters T-shirts that go on these dolls. You know, I could see a lot of little kids running around with their dolls and being excited. It'd be great if the Pope could get one and see what the doll is. That's a little far-fetched.
Yeah. Remind us again where people can buy these dolls if they're interested.
You can find me on Facebook. It's at TB Crafting. Same thing with Instagram. Or you can email me direct at gtncboucher@gmail.com, and I can get you a doll. I have lots now. I'm stocked up. I'm ready to go.
How did you get the stockpile? Because when we had you on the show before, you couldn't keep up with the demand. How did you hire more people to get the stock increased?
No, I'm still a one-man show. I'm still doing all of the skirt sewing myself and all shirt preparation. But, you know, my family has helped a lot. They all jump in and do, you know, cutting and postal deliveries and running around the city getting me supplies. So as a family, we've managed to keep this thing afloat.
What does it mean to you when you hear the feedback from people about, you know, Indigenous kids seeing themselves reflected in these dolls?
Oh, it's so heartwarming. I get pictures and comments daily on my social medias about, you know, got the dolls, love the dolls, kids love the dolls, everybody's playing with the dolls, and you see pictures of the little girls carrying their dolls. They're all excited. It's just wonderful. You know, it's something that was needed in the market, and it's been embraced.
What do you want to do next? Are you just sticking with the dolls, or you want to branch into something else?
I had originally thought maybe I could do something for like a Ken type doll, but you know what? I've been so busy with just the dolls themselves. It just keeps going. So for me right now, I'm very happy with getting the word out and getting these dolls out so people can identify. You know, it brings awareness to missing and murdered women and girls.
Sure does.
It brings awareness to the Every Child Matters and the plight there with the churches and, you know, all the unmarked graves. So this is something that we need to keep going, and the kids can never forget what happened. And having these T-shirts on their dolls, you know, 20 years from now, a lot of us still have our Barbies from when we were kids. I know my girls do.
For sure.
Yeah, you know, you look in your toy box and there's that doll with that shirt, and you always remember.
You know, and I think to normalize, I mean, we had in the news not that many years ago, remember the girl who was kind of laughed at in Saskatchewan at her school for wearing her ribbon skirt? And then there was this big movement that came out to say, you know, let's normalize, you know, our kids wearing our traditional clothes like that. And there has been more. You certainly see, I would say in the last 5 years, you see a lot more ribbon skirts being worn just in everyday settings, right? So these dolls are well timed for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see women wearing ribbon skirts every day, all over the place, going to get groceries, walking down the street. It's wonderful. And you know, I see these girls. I've seen many girls run around with their dolls and have their dolls and having little play groups together. It's just wonderful. It needs to continue.
Well, we love the work that you do, and again, you can find those dolls on TB Crafting. That's on Facebook. Tracy, thanks for joining us with that update.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are all out of time for our season finale. We thank you for joining us all season. We're so grateful for your support. But very quickly before we go, just one last update. We told you about a woman who started an Instagram account to help incarcerated women sell their beadwork so they could save up some money for their release. Well, since being on the show, Sandra Burling reports that Women Helping Women has grown to almost 11,000 followers on Instagram. And she went from selling for a few women here in a Manitoba jail to selling for 35 women across Canada in federal and provincial facilities. And she sells to customers all over the world. So such an amazing endeavor, well deserving of all that success. Thanks for the update, Sandra. That's Women Helping Women on Instagram. Well, that is all from us here at InFocus for this season. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you back here in September.